Hi, so I wanted to have a rant about basically the Tumblr fanbase for True Blood. I'm going to start off by saying that up until yesterday my URL was Alexander-Skarsgård, but someone's taken the URL now, and that's perfectly fine because I changed mine. The reason I changed it was because I originally became Alexander Skarsgård on Tumblr because I was a very big fan of Eric Northman, and I still am to some degree. But because I've not been active on Tumblr for the past 6 months, I thought, you know what, I'll take one for the team. It's not fair to my followers, and I have over 1,000 followers who are following me for Alexander Skarsgård stuff, to not really have the content that they're looking for as much as they'd like. So I took, like I said, I took one for the team. I changed my URL, and I'm not Alexander Skarsgård anymore. But I noticed since I came back to Tumblr after 6 months of, just other stuff going on, that there are a lot of posts about True Blood pictures, stuff like that, which is fine. And obviously tonight it is the True Blood, tonight for me because I'm in the UK, the True Blood season 5 premiere, and obviously everyone's going psycho about it, everyone's really excited, and I'm excited for it too, don't get me wrong. But I noticed the post on my dash from another user, I'm not going to say who, because they might not be comfortable with it, saying that there's so much double standards in the True Blood fanbase, and I really, really, really do agree with this. I'm going to say that this rant is completely, off the wall. It's kind of, I'm not got scripted or anything like that, so I'm going to rant a lot, I'm going to digress a lot. So yeah, I wanted to say that a lot of the True Blood fanbase really don't like Twilight. And this annoys me, because this whole Twilight thing is really mundane, in my opinion. I'm not a fan of this series, but when people go on about it and say, oh, it's stupid because of this whole thing between Edward and Jacob, and it's so weak, and blah, 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 blah. Bella's such a stupid character. It's like, okay, that's your own opinion, which obviously, no offence, most Twilight haters get their opinions from third parties. You have this argument about, these two guy characters, and that's all it's about. Well, no offence, but most of the Tumblr fanbase, all they ever go on about is, oh, how hot Eric is, or how much they hate Bill. Personally, I don't really know anyone from this so-called Team Bill, and it really makes me ashamed to be a fan of Eric, because all the people who are in quote-unquote Team Eric, and I don't want to be, part of that juvenile crap, to be honest, but let's call it Team Eric because that's basically what it is. They slander people from the other team, people who like Bill, and it's really like such double standards, because you say like, oh, this whole Edward and Jacob thing is really immature and people should grow up. Well, no offense, but you watch True Blood and then you fantasize about being in Suki's shoes, because with a lot of franchises that have a leading female character, a lot of the female demographic project themselves onto that character because there's two hot guys to choose from. For example, Twilight is a good example, and then you have obviously True Blood, then you have like the Vampire Diaries, for example. So yeah, it's very much a personal fantasy, and obviously True Blood's filled with gore, filled with hot sex, so much sexual tension and stuff like that. So it's a very attractive, charismatic show for a lot of people, and it's HBO. HBO do amazing shows. So yeah, and then, like I said, I don't really know anyone from Team Bill, per se, because I think everyone shifted over to the Eric camp, and this annoys me. It annoys me because they don't really see Eric for who he is. They see Eric because he's hot, because he's Alexander Skarsgård, and because he has hot sex with Suki. And then they turn around and they say, yeah, we're mature, Eric's such an amazing character. Yeah, they turn around and then they'll feel completely at ease, they feel completely comfortable with posting pictures of Stephen Moyer, obviously as Bill, and saying, oh, Bill Compton is a paedophile, he's like a stalker, he's a murderer, he's a liar, he's a cheat, and stuff like that. And it's like, no offence, but when you put an actor's face and put these things about a character underneath, even though it is about that character, that's a form of slander. Because to someone who doesn't know who Bill Compton is, they see Stephen Moyer's face, and that can be very, very bad and give a bad impression. That's not there at all on the actor. Whereas they seem to glorify Eric, and to be honest, okay, yeah, Eric's badass and everything like that, but the reason I like Eric, I like him in the scope of Godric, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna say Eric and Godric is one of my OTPs. Like, I've got 4 OTPs, and I know that's an oxymoron, but yeah, I've got 4 OTPs, and the reason I like him with Godric so much is because Godric brings out everything in him that he hides away. He brings out love, affection, weakness, feeling in him. He brings out truth and honesty in him, pain. He brings out all those things which I think make Eric a great and complex character. Whereas people in the team Eric camp, for me, I don't know, I obviously it doesn't speak for everybody who supports, Eric or whatever. For me, they seem to kind of look at Eric through Suki's eyes and project themselves onto him. They see a guy who's tall, who's good looking, who's naked, whatever, and who's kind of like a rough, kind of dominating guy. And yet, it's okay to like him, but it's not okay to like other characters. And for me, this is just such a massive double standard, because, okay, fine, it's a fandom, it's a TV show, it's got its own like, community which people support for whatever reasons, but then it starts to bleed out onto the actors themselves. And Eric was really the starting point, the origin of this whole massive Tumblr fan base. I mean, obviously True Blood is a really big TV show now from when it started out. And Eric has really developed as a character and as a presence on the show. So people obviously start to notice Alexander Skarsgård more. I mean, you have his fame, he has so much more interviews now because of True Blood, and then obviously he's in stuff like Generation Kill, which more people are checking out, even though that was a previous work before True Blood. And then you have like, all these commercials he's in, all these photo shoots, all these interviews. Then you have stuff like Straw Dogs, Battleship and stuff like that, and Melancholia. So he's got quite a presence. And it's really bad that they have this like love for him. Not in the sense that they love him, it's like whatever, like who you want, but they kind of like start turning on other people because they're so infatuated with this person that they can't accept other people's opinions, and yet they claim to be mature and, freedom thinkers, and, a lot of these blogs who do support True Blood and stuff like that, who post a lot of True Blood content, often you'll find stuff like, oh, I forgot what I was going to say, stuff like, homosexuality is love and stuff like, which is completely fine. I'm just saying that I'm not homophobic, but they post a lot of like, other stuff like, homosexuality is love who you want. And yet, when someone posts an opinion, for example, about Eric that they don't like, or if someone says, yeah, I like Bill more, I think he's cool, and then they completely turn on that person. And it's like, why promote yourself as being so accepting when you can't look at someone else who's a fellow Tumblr user, who's a fellow True Blood fan, who probably likes Eric too, because a lot of people do like Eric in the True Blood fan base, and turn on them and start bitching about them. It's just really rude. And it's completely stupid. I mean, I'm not going to name names, but then they start fighting them on themselves. And I found this post on an Alexander Skarsgård blog where someone had basically posted a picture of Alexander in his new, I think it was a Calvin Klein commercial. And then people started like arguing, not arguing, but like discussing, saying, oh, using a facial shot isn't his best features and stuff like that. And then someone else came in and said, I get where you're coming from, but why are you complaining when basically you're saying that because he's, him more than the average person, whereas to the average person, he's just a face to sell the perfume. And, as a fan, you expect him to be in all these amazing pictures, looking beautiful, because you see him that way. Well, not everyone does. And it was just this whole thing, like people started fighting, like saying, they should use his best assets, and then it was like, oh, you're being really rude and blah blah blah. And it was like, you know what, you guys really need to chill out, because this is a perfume, not even a commercial, it's literally a photograph that's been photoshopped. And it gets really, really, really petty, because then more and more people obviously voice their opinions, which is very good. I love that people voice their opinions, and they get shot down for it. Their opinion is completely different to the norm or whatever. So I'm just checking Tumblr as we speak. Say for example, when I posted a thing about Eric and Suki saying I just do not like the pairing at all, people went mad at me saying, how can you not support Suki? You say you're an Alexander Skarsgård fan, but you're just being a complete bitch. I can't believe you don't like this pairing. It's a perfect pairing. Like, no, it's not. I'm sorry, Eric and Suki is not a perfect pairing. They're a effing horrible pairing together. I don't see where this whole attraction between them comes from, apart from the blood bond. And even then, that's forced in the books. It's so like stupid. And then what annoys me in the TV show, because obviously that is where most people know the TV show from, and that's kind of become its own entity, as it were, is in seasons 1 to 3, basically, Suki's bitching Eric out 24/7. When he comes in the room, she'll make a snide remark. She'll give him horrible looks. Okay, he's an asshole, but that's a part of his personality, and they don't try to hide that. It's very obvious that he's cold, that he's protective, that he's a survivalist kind of thing. And yet, it's so like advertised that she doesn't like him. She hates the fact that he made her drink his blood. But in season 4, as soon as like he loses his memory, she completely capitalizes on that. She jumps on him. She makes him feel so horrible about himself. He's like, yeah, who was I before? She's like, oh, you were cold, you were cruel. He's like, you know what, I want to punish myself. I'm sorry, but no. As soon as he becomes her plaything, she completely manipulates him and turns him into a different person. I understand that when he lost his memory, he was a different person, but it irritates me that she loves him, quote unquote, falls in love with him, when he is something that she makes him, when she transforms him into something because she projects her personality onto him, because he's vulnerable and she damn well knows that. And yet, as soon as he goes back to his normal self, when he's completely entitled to his own personality, she kind of goes back to that way where she's like, oh, you know, I can't be with you and stuff like that. It's like, really, Suki? You're using the guy. You should love him for who he is, if you love him at all. And even then, I don't see anything there. Like, they have nothing in common. Even in the books, every time they're together, they're always worrying about a situation at work, or a situation, you know, with some drama that's going on or something. I understand that it's very, you know, story oriented books, but if she could have like time with Alcide, with Sam, with Quinn, with Bill, in a romantic light, that she can at least sit down with Eric and discuss something other than the fact that her life is shit, she, you know, doesn't earn enough tips as a waitress or whatever, or Victor's plague in the area. They have nothing in common. They never ask each other about what movies they like, what music they like, what books they read, what they think about current political opinions and stuff like that. They don't talk about any of that. They're not friends. Literally every scene they're in, they get together, like they don't see each other for a while, they get together, they have sex, and then Eric goes home before the sun rises. And that is it. And it really irritates me. That is not a relationship. That's, I'm sorry, a fling to me. I just say, based on that, because you had sex with someone a few times, that you love them. No, that is not a relationship. That is a fling. That is a casual fling where you're both getting something out of it. You're not into each other. And then, you know, end of the day, you go home and then you do your own shit. And then a couple of days later, maybe a week later, you go back and have more sex. It's all that happens in that relationship. And that is why I do not like Eric and Suki, because they don't better each other. They don't bring anything out of each other. None of them either challenges each other to be a better person. They don't talk about each other's past, each other's problems, each other's families, each other's emotions. They don't do that. And that is why I don't support the pairing. Okay, yeah, they're both hot people. Doesn't make them a valid pairing. That makes them about as valid as, you know, Bella and Edward. And it's the exact same shit. And that is what annoys me. This is this two-faced nature of the Tumblr fanbase concerning True Blood. And I don't know if I sound like I'm going to cry, but I'm not. I'm just really impassioned right now because it irritates the frigging fuck out of me. But yeah. I should have been more, like, you know, eloquent in my speech, but whatever. This is my rant on the True Blood fanbase and whatever. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.